I have always been terrified of nothing. No, I'm not valiantly claiming that I do not have fears. Instead, I'm giving the admission that I'm literally terrified of the concept of nothingness, non-existence, emptiness. Even as a kid, I remember that my first ever panic attack was based around several compounding thoughts. The first was the idea that only I can prove my own life and sentience. And maybe, because of that, I'm the only provable conscious thing. This is, of course, an egotistical idea, and it's from a young kid coming to terms with the fact that everyone and everything is as equally important and real as themselves. Even if you cannot experience others' lives, they are still living. There's actually a term for this, solipsism, and I've luckily conquered that. And I'll take solace in the idea that everyone and everything is as equally real and important as me. That honestly informs my every action in life. There's a book I love called The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. Within it, the author makes a new word, sonder, the realization that each and every person is living their own life as complex as yours. I believe that sonder is something everyone needs to feel and accept, as accepting it, I believe, is at the core of goodness and empathy towards others. Continuing on, though, the other thought that plagued and frightened me as a kid, I still have not conquered, the thought of being nothingness. I inherently ask a lot of questions. I'm the type of person who needs sort of everything laid out for me to fully understand it. Where it came from, what made it, how it is mixed together, what amount of this and what amount of that. And whenever I don't have an answer, or there is no answer, I tend to hyper-focus on it. I tend to have thoughts that just won't go away until the answer comes. And this is one that stuck with me. What was I before I was born? What will I be after I die? If when I sleep and not remember a dream, am I just simply peacefully blank? Is that what true lack of consciousness is? What non-existence is? Or is that just a switch? Complete shutdown. Nothing. No thought, no me, just nothing. At that age, until my young teenage years, I was a Christian, and I took great solace in the idea of an afterlife, but still, that fear persisted. I am now a very different person. We evolve so much as people and as personalities that it's honestly hard to say we're even truly the us of 5 years ago. I'm not saying this as a lack of blame or giving up my own mistakes of choices or actions. Not at all. I did all of those things and I was that person. I'm just simply saying how magnificent it is that we can completely be different people, yet the same. That scared kid was me, and yet he is not. I was him and he is now me, but the him of then is not the me of now. I'm now in my mid-20s, and to be honest, the fear remains. I'm no longer religious, and luckily I'm no longer solipsistic. I'm agnostic. I would say that fear is even greater. The fear of nothingness and the possibility of it chains me. Me and my friends are comfortable with and embrace the idea of eventually fading from life into nothingness. After all, logically, if you are nothing, there can be no pain nor thought to suffer with, or to panic about. Even if there was deep pain and fear in the process of dying, it would soon be gone and nothing. But I despise that. I hate it, in fact. I value being conscious and I value being me and evolving as me. I value the idea of life and living, and I'll forever be terrified of the concept of it being gone. The fading into nothing just infuriates me. I find it hard to hate people, living things, physical things I can see, touch, and interact. Those can be explained. Those can be grasped. I find that things that are beyond that constraint, things that are ideas without form, are the true things that I can hate. And I hate nothingness with every bit of my being. A friend of mine told me a philosophical idea that I like quite a bit. The idea that there is no such thing as enlightenment, in the sense of there being a single enlightenment, the big one where you understand everything. Instead, throughout our lives, we have the chance of having many enlightenments. Some will be able to settle on calm answers and accept things that before confounded them and scared them. I'm not egotistical enough to say that I've ever been enlightened. The closest I've come to enlightenment is with a certain answer. This was something I previously thought as a fallacy, something unanswerable, unconquerable, and it scared me the exact same way that nothingness scares me. The question of why. Why does existence exist? Why does the universe and reality and life exist? If there's truly a beginning, how is that possible? Could there not be something that exists before even that beginning? If there is a God, what made God? It is something that I think sentient beings will always struggle with, and I think most people have at least that thought once in their lives. The acceptance on this topic that I have reached is honestly a simple answer, and one that I believe many hearing this will consider foolish and not right at all. But I myself completely believe in it, and it's brought me some sense of, I will say for lack of a better word, enlightenment. The answer is this. Existence just is because it is. That's it. That's the simple answer I have come to. The question of if there is something other than existence is the wrong question, as it inherently does not matter. Because right now, we are not in a state of non-existence, we are in existence. And we can only measure things that are in existence. Likewise, asking why it was made, why existence exists, doesn't matter in the grand scheme. It just simply is. It was made, or maybe it wasn't made, and it just is. We exist because we exist, and the universe exists because it does. Planets, living things, space, all of it exists simply because. It is terrifying to imagine there only being a lack of existence. Absolutely. It is terrifying that nothing may have existed before the Big Bang, or God, or whatever else you believe in. The simple fact is that we are, and everything else is. And likewise, the beginning and existence as well just is. And the after is also a form of existence, even if it is in a form that we cannot comprehend. Though I have reached some form of comfortability with this question, I still have not reached any form of acceptance of the other question, which honestly is a very similar question, and I imagine has a very similar answer. What is non-existence? What is before we are born, and what is after we die? It just simply is. We exist and have sentience, and one day that ends. We cease. Our minds, our hopes, loves, dreams, opinions, memories all die. Forgotten. Like tears in the rain. We are not the apex thinking machines, we humans. We're not. We struggle with basic ideas like infinity, non-existence, and so much more. Our brains panic when we think of something that we cannot understand. The ultimate flaw of sentience and of thought, and ultimately of humanity. Though this fear persists, I hope one day I will reach an enlightenment of acceptance of this state. Though I haven't yet, and I may never, I have reached some form of comfort towards this question. I love The Lord of the Rings, and its creator J.R.R. Tolkien. Though me and him are very different, I consider him an immensely beautiful man, an immensely beautiful soul, in every sense of the word. And I believe that though his beliefs are wildly different from my own, he in his writing had an enlightenment on this question that plagues me. And though the scene I'm about to speak of only happens within the films by Peter Jackson, the words are almost all entirely by Tolkien. In the books, the words are written when Frodo has a dream within Tom Bombadil's home, something that proves to be prophetic whenever he sails to Valinor at the end of the trilogy and encounters the same vision he had within the dream, but now within real life. The recycling of the words in the film to occur here are, for lack of a better word, divine inspiration from the filmmakers and actors of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I would like to read it for you, but first, allow me to set the scene. The end is fast approaching, the end of all things good, and the life of those who are good. Pippin is far away from his friends, and his beloved home. Those he had joined a fellowship with are all spread out across great distances, and are separated, unable to know what is happening to each and every one of them. They are all fighting against an insurmountable and unconquerable evil, an end to the world's way of life, and perhaps the world's goodness and very existence in general. For all Pippin knows, his friends, Frodo and Sam, have perished, tortured or died in a harsh landscape for lack of water, the ultimate evil having claimed its ultimate lost power. Maybe his friend and chosen brother Merry is in besieged Rohan, dead upon its walls. Aragorn and the others, dead with him, are hiding in some place to only be rooted out and killed later. Pippin is within the final bastion of good, ruled by a lost and tarnished man, his heir dead or dying. The city has fallen, and many of its great warriors lie dead, as well as its leaders. The army of evil outside the city is so large they could fill the city thrice over. The lower rings have fallen, and now, with someone who has conquered death once before, Gandalf, Pippin cowers in fear beyond the gate, exhausted, scared, and awaiting the assurance of death. As he turns to his final friend, a mentor, one who died once for him, he says this to him, believing that this is the end of all things. I didn't think it would end this way. Gandalf turns to him, look of confusion on his face, though a stern determination fills it. He smiles to himself. End? No, the journey doesn't end here. Death is just another path, one we all must take. The gray rain curtain of this world rolls back, and all turns to silver glass, and then you see it. Gandalf appears lost in thought, the beauty of his vision overtaking him. Pippin holds on to every word. What, Gandalf? See what? White shores, and beyond, a far green country, under a swift sunrise. Well, that isn't so bad. No, it isn't. I cried when writing the script and putting these words in. This, regardless of whatever belief or faith you hold, is enlightenment. Pure and simple. Even if Ian McKellen, who plays Gandalf, did not believe the words, even if the director, Peter Jackson, didn't, even if Tolkien himself struggled with accepting his faith in death and believing the idea of heaven, these words were not written at random. These words are heavenly and inspired. I'd believe it if you told me Tolkien felt a divine spark within him as he wrote these words. And even though I do not believe in the divine, I would still completely and utterly believe that he felt it. The vision is beautiful. The idea of it is comforting. The solace taken with two friends believing that they are soon about to die is just, it's just beauty. I believe this works perfectly as a metaphor too. I doubt I will ever believe that when I die, I will actually see a far green country. That is not why it is beautiful. It is beautiful because of the acceptance of it. The idea that when you die, it is not an end. It is not simply finished. A book closed and burned, a body turned to ash and thrown to the wind. It is the idea that indeed death is a path, not a literal one, no. Instead, just simply something that we must travel, and that it is okay that we have to. A path similar to ones that we've already taken. The path when we dream, the path when we cry, the path when we were born, and the path ultimately when we die. Is the idea that when we die, and if we do fade to nothingness, that nothingness in itself is not evil. It is not hate. It just is. It just is. When we close our eyes for the final time, and our thoughts are no longer written, we feel it. The journey to a far green country. Perhaps that place is a heaven. Perhaps it's not. Maybe it is just a calm and serene nothing. Maybe it's reincarnation. Maybe it is something that the human mind and mortal kind in general just cannot comprehend. Something beyond, a next stage. Whatever it is that awaits us, it's not the enemy. It's not evil. Not at all. It is not a thing that is trying to hurt us. And though it is unconquerable, it is as welcoming and ordained as the beauty when you see in the distance a far green country. The wind, when it blows, is not doing so to disturb you. That's not its purpose. Its existence is beyond that simple observation. Existence doesn't exist just to spite you, and death is not an end. It is simply something that will happen. You will fade, as if watching a swift sunrise overtake the darkness of night. I wish that with every part of my being, that one day I'll be able to sit and calmly say the words that Gandalf said, with acceptance and warmth about the idea of death in the next stage. Not that I will necessarily believe that I will pass on to a far green country, but I just hope that I will adamantly believe that death is just another path, one that we all must take, and beyond it is something, be it a far green country or something else entirely, and that I hope one day I'll be able to look forward to it, and I hope I too, one day, can see it. See what, you ask? I'll just have to find out.